In Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition, New Game Plus speedruns are a category of runs in which the player starts in New Game Plus, with any character setup theoretically achievable in a single New Game cycle. This involves a lot of setup in regular New Game in order to best equip the player to complete New Game Plus as fast as possible. However, since actual attempts begin after this initial setup, there is a lot of missing context when watching a New Game Plus speedrun. This video will explain the preparation involved, mainly focusing on New Game Plus any percent as of the making of this video. Firstly, it should be noted that if something is proven to be possible to do legitimately, it doesn't have to be done legitimately in the setup phase. Since New Game Plus runs begin after New Game setup is complete, there is no way of verifying how a player obtained their stats and items. Therefore, the community allows the use of cheat engine and other tools to avoid unnecessary tedious grinding during preparation. However, it's important to stress that the setup must be possible in a single New Game, or else any run using that setup will be invalid. That said, due to glitches such as quantity storage, it isn't too difficult to quickly obtain large amounts of souls. This works by feeding an item to Frampt 999 times, despite only owning a single copy. If that item is in the bottomless box when sold to Frampt, it underflows the quantity, giving you the max amount for that item. This makes it possible to get a maximum stack of any item you could feed to Frampt. You can repeat this process to get as many souls as you want, and therefore max out the character's level. A full sweep of 99 across all stats isn't actually required due to soft caps, but due to the category rules, you may as well go all in. In Dark Souls, it's no secret that sorcery can be overpowered, especially dark sorceries like Dark Bead. When you have high sorcery and high strength, the Manus Catalyst yields the highest damage output from Dark Bead, due to its high strength scaling which increases the physical damage dealt by dark sorceries. Otherwise, for regular sorceries, the Tin Crystallization Catalyst would remain the best choice. The Manus Catalyst does halve the available casts, however, and you can only get one copy of Dark Bead per playthrough. At least, that is usually the case. By utilising the mouse and a controller simultaneously, it is possible to drop negative quantities of items, thus allowing you to duplicate them. This glitch, combined with quantity storage, means that almost every item in the game can be duplicated in a single playthrough. This means that we can have full stacks of Divine Blessings, Dark Beads, and most other things we could want. To do more damage, you can use the red Tearstone ring to boost damage by 50% when below 20% health, and the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring to increase by another approximately 20%. Power Within can be cast for another 40% damage boost when required. For even more damage, the Crown of Dusk can be worn to increase sorcery by another 20%. There are other useful helmets, but you can typically only wear one at a time. Unless... Using the Equipment Slot Manipulation, or ESM glitch, it is possible to equip armor of different types in different armor slots, among other uses. I won't go into the full details since there are quite a few steps involved, but I'll leave a link to a more detailed explanation in the description. The important thing is that this lets us wear as many hats as we have armor slots, should we choose to do so. Most armor with extra effects tend to be headpieces, and we are no longer restricted to choosing only one. The Crown of the Dark Sun can be worn for an additional 10% sorcery damage increase, which stacks with the Crown of Dusk. The Mask of the Child can then be used to improve stamina recovery, which stacks with the Grasscrest Shield. For our fourth piece of armor, we improve the ability to roll past enemies that might be blocking a path by using an item from the Thorn set. Since ESM causes body parts to go invisible when equipping the wrong armor type in a given slot, the Leggings of Thorns are the best choice for actually being able to see where the character is positioned. Having invisible legs can be disorienting, and makes positioning quite difficult. To be able to wrong warp into the Kiln of the First Flame, you must first reach the Firelink altar. This can be accessed via Frampt from ringing both Bells of Awakening, or via Kaathe after defeating the Four Kings. Either of these serpents can be chosen, which leads to alternative routes. By choosing Frampt, you would defeat both Quelaag and the Gargoyles and ring both bells. You would then continue through Sen's Fortress and Anor Londo, like normal, to obtain the Lord Vessel. Returning to Frampt, you would then immediately gain access to the Firelink Altar, and thus wrong warp into the kiln. By choosing Kaathe, you would use Sen's Gate Skip to go straight into Sen's Fortress, through Anor Londo, and obtain the Lord Vessel. Since key items are stripped from your inventory when entering New Game Plus, you would then need to kill Sif to re-obtain the Covenant of Artorias. You then equip it to fight the Four Kings, Kaathe would take you to the Firelink Altar, and you would proceed to wrong warp into the kiln. Although the equipment screen does not show it, there is a hidden equipment slot for the player's hair. ESM can be used to equip the Covenant of Artorias into the hair slot, whilst also wearing it as a ring, essentially letting you equip the same ring twice. When entering New Game Plus, the game only checks and unequips the first instance of the Covenant of Artorias it finds, and then removes it from your inventory. However, since the ring is equipped twice, it only gets unequipped from the hair slot. This causes the ring to remain equipped in the usual ring slot, despite it no longer being in your inventory. This does mean that we can only have one flexible ring slot, meaning we can't stack the red Tearstone ring and the bellowing Dragoncrest ring until we reach Gwyn, at which point it is safe to unequip the Covenant of Artorias. Speaking of rings, there are other utility rings which can be used at certain points throughout the run. The Dusk Crown ring can halve the player's HP to help with the red Tearstone ring setups. The Chloranthy ring can be used for additional stamina regeneration for running segments, and in similar situations, the Darkwood Grain ring can be used to roll faster while covering more distance. The Lingering Dragoncrest ring can be used to extend the duration of fall control, which is required to have it remain active long enough to do the Silver Knight Archer skip. This utilises the death cam in Anor Londo to prevent the gate to the Giant Blacksmith from loading, allowing you to walk right through. As soon as full control runs out, the character dies, so it's important for the effect to last long enough to make it through the gate. Additionally, the initial death cam uses another glitch called meme rolls, also known as air rolls, which allows the player to continuously roll through the air and iframe fall damage. For Prepare to Die edition, this only works when the equipment load of the player is between 25% and approximately 25.000088% of the maximum. Although this may seem like an unachievably slim margin, it is possible to be within this range thanks to floating point maths. By equipping the Mask of the Father, a 1.05 times multiplier is applied to the maximum equipment load, except it's actually just under 1.05 due to the inability for it to be expressed exactly in binary. When aiming for the 25% equipment threshold, this will now actually be slightly above it. Essentially, this means that by having the right combination of endurance and equipment, you can have your equip load be within the required threshold. The setup I use works by having 96 endurance with the Mask of the Father. This results in a maximum equipment load slightly under 142.8, requiring an achievable weight of 35.7 to hit the 25% of the maximum. This can be done with Smo's Helm and a Zweihander, equipped alongside some of the other usual gear. The route I described earlier by using Sen's Gate Skip to avoid ringing both bells is quite fast, but in New Game Plus runs, there is a unique way to reach Anor Londo even faster. With the right preparation, it's possible to not only skip Sen's Gate, but Sen's Fortress altogether. This is done with the Purple Coward's Crystal Stored Invasion map Wrong Warp. The Purple Coward's Crystal can be carried into New Game Plus, and its effect can be item swapped to teleport to the default developer chosen location for each map. This requires being near to the DLC such that its maps are preloaded. If you instead item swap the crystal, and then walk away from the DLC area such that the maps unload, you will be booted to the main menu, unless you have an invasion map stored from the current session. This means that if you have invaded anyone on any save file in the current session, you can wrong warp to the default location for the map in which that invasion took place. One of the rules for Dark Souls speedruns is that they must be done offline to prevent players from summoning help and leveraging multiplayer to beat the game faster. Therefore, in a speedrun, only invasion maps from single player invasions could be loaded. This means that you can't just invade someone in the kiln before the run and go straight to Gwyn after the asylum. But due to the Black Eye Orb allowing the invasion of Lautrec, Anor Londo can become a stored invasion map. This means that before each attempt, we can invade Lautrec to store the Anor Londo map. During the attempt, we then item swap the Purple Coward's Crystal near the DLC, and immediately run away towards the ladder to unload it. The game then warps us to the stored invasion map, putting us directly into Anor Londo, thus completely avoiding the need to visit Sen's Fortress. So now we have the full route for New Game Plus any% as of the making of this video. You first invade Lautrec before the run begins. Upon starting the run, you leave the asylum, immediately run through the Undead Burg, down Havel's Tower, and towards the Hydra. You wrong warp to Anor Londo, do the Silver Knight Archer skip, and defeat Ornstein and Smough. After picking up the Lord Vessel, you warp back to Firelink and kill one of the Kings of New Londo so hard that the other three feel it, and then Kaathe can take you to the Firelink altar. To wrong warp into the kiln, you then either force quit during a load screen, or spell swap the Homewood Miracle, depending on the category. It's then a simple matter of obliterating Gwyn and hitting the credits. Once the character is completely set up, there is still one final step. Dark Souls speedruns use in-game time to compare runs, since it's a far more fair measure of speed than real time, which can vary based on hardware. In order to track our time, we want the in-game time to be 0 right from the beginning of New Game Plus. This is another situation where cheat engine is allowed. Before finishing New Game, we work out what the in-game time is in milliseconds, since that is how it is stored. We then scan for values that are slightly above this number while loading the character to find the corresponding value. Once we've found it, returning to the main menu will reset its value to 0, so we lock its value such that it doesn't change. When we return in-game, it will be unable to load the previous value, and thus set the in-game time to 0. We then complete New Game with our timer locked, and make a copy of that save file. The next time we load that character, we see the opening Asylum cutscene, and the clock will be at 0. And that about covers it, at least as of the making of this video. It's always possible for new skips to be discovered, thus causing some of these preparation steps to become obsolete. I went over some of these skips and glitches fairly quickly, and so I'll leave links to more thorough explanations in the description. Thanks for watching.